got Dr. Anna Mokgokong. I don't think she needs any big introduction into the South African business space, but I want to say welcome, Dr. Anna, to our Northwest University Business School Bonbon session, and for allowing us to have an interview with you, because this is, as a business person, I know time is of essence, and you have made special effort to be here today to have this interview with me, and we thank you very, very much. You are not just the Chancellor of the Northwest University, but we know each other for quite a number of years.
Indeed.
But you are actually a distinguished South African citizen and businesswoman with business interest in Africa, and I believe also globally. And we can definitely learn a lot from you, and that's why we are having this special Bonbon session with the specific publication of August month, Women's Month, this month coming out, a special edition for women specifically. So from my side, when we look at entrepreneurial success in Africa, it is not what it should be, because it seems as we are in Africa, we don't get past the first barrier of really making success, and many people are hooked onto the micro level and even get stuck there. I know you also come through those routes and where you are today. So I just want to know from you a few questions from you as a global award winner. I know that you have been signed on to the leading women entrepreneurs globally. I mean, that is a distinguished sort of thing. So can you tell me just a little bit more about that, just quickly, just as an interest point? What did that mean?
I mean, for me, it gave me a sense of belonging. A sense of belonging that says, I'm a global citizen. Because sometimes we get locked up in being local, and you don't think much about yourself and the role that you could play in a wider scenario. So I think that recognition said to me, Anna, you are part of the global, village in terms of business, and you've got peers globally who also look up to you and also are willing to associate with you. So what it said to me is, as a South African, South Africans also are part of this. And we must never undermine or underestimate ourselves and the role that we can play.
And specifically then also as a woman, because sometimes we are not always recognized that we can actually play such a role. And therefore, as I said, we are very happy that we can have you here today. So I want to start up with the first question, and that is, what do you think we as Africans do not understand about entrepreneurship, and that's why we're not making a success? What do you think?
Yes. You see, as Africans, we have a traditional way of viewing and being entrepreneurs. And it starts from our early history, where we were traders, bartering, for this and that. You remember the role that Zanzibar played, where we were linking trade from the east to the west. And coming further south during the Mapungube era, where there are signs and history shows that we were significant traders from long ago. But somewhat, we restricted and limited that to just trading, just exchange of goods and money. I think we've evolved from that era now. This current era calls for a lot more than just exchanging money and bartering goods. And this is what we have to quickly get to as Africans, so that we get to really going up, I would say, in terms of the economy. We need to participate in the upper ranks of the economy of the continent and of our country. And how are we going to get to do that? Business calls for more than just trading and making money. And you are now responsible as a business person, as a business leader, for a wide range of stakeholders that were never there before. Now, what are those stakeholders? For example, your employees, as an entrepreneur, as a business person, you owe a lot to your employees to make sure that they're adequately paid, a living wage, and that you also extend your interest to them and their welfare. Because if they're not taken care of, they will not produce the best, and the productivity levels won't be good. Mm-hmm. So it goes far a lot more. Communities, the communities where you do business, you actually have to take responsibility for them as well. Mm-hmm. I mean, the old days, it was about slave trade, you never paid people. No. Now it's about, you have to pay those people. Take interest in your communities. I mean, think of environmental responsibilities. Mm. You have to do business responsibly, also taking care of your environment. And now, also in the picture come regulators, where you've got to be compliant as a business person. You've got to register your company. You've got to pay your taxes. You've got, I mean, there are even industry regulations. Then you find the competition commission. I mean, the stakeholders are wider and wider and wider. And also it's about sustainability. Mm. We have seen this during COVID, that unless your company, your business is sustainable, it will crumble. We have seen. COVID has just shown us that we need to strengthen our business, let them be sustainable. And also, you know, we have a formidable role to play as entrepreneurs, and that of job creation. Mm. For every job you create, you know how many families you feed. Yes. You know how many children you send to school. So I think there's been a shift in the whole inclination of business. It's no longer about money, trading and exchanging money and having piles and heaps of money. No, it's about now taking care of a far wide range of issues. So this is what we have to learn in Africa fairly quickly and sooner than later.
Okay, so what I'm hearing you say is that if we want to be an entrepreneur, and I'm going to ask another question just now, we have to understand the whole ecosystem of entrepreneurship success and ensure that we understand the business principles and practices around that as well, whether we are small entrepreneurs or whether we are bigger, shall I say, medium and large scale-up businesses. We need to understand that doesn't matter. You can't just jump in and start bartering and then go forward and really make a business, because it's just going to be feeding yourself and staying in a poverty trap if we want to.
Certainly. Okay. And if you don't formalize your business, how do you then enter the procurement opportunities that present themselves?
Yes, and
because I mean, companies will want you to be in a formal company. They'll want to see your profile. Mm. You have to speak for yourself and what you stand for. And that's how then you'll get opportunities of procurement. And then that's how you grow actually from there.
Yeah. So actually you've answered a little bit of the second question already, which says to me, how did you become a leading entrepreneur with global investments, etc.? So what are the core little things that you haven't mentioned yet? How did you do that?
Yeah, it's so interesting because, you know, I had this vision as an 8-year-old. As an 8-year-old, I was fairly independent. I could cook and I could just envisage where I wanted to be in life, because my family wasn't rich at all. We barely made it. And my parents, all they worked for was just to send us to school, and there was nothing more. So I thought, do I want to lead this life? And the answer was no. So it's so interesting that in those early days, guess what I wanted to be? Because, I mean, there was very little to do those days other than going to the movies. So I used to really admire actresses. I wanted to be a film star. I wanted to go to America. I mean, America was this place like heaven. And it was like, oh my God, I want to be a film star. I want to be rich. I want to go to America. But it didn't quite turn out like that, other than just my dream to be successful. So when I completed my matric, and there's really very few opportunities for us then. My mother, who was a mathematician, she was a teacher, and she said, you are going to become a doctor. And I was marshaled to medical school. When I got to medical school, there's no pocket money. Then I called my mother, said, but you forgot, you sent me here, but forgot to give me pocket money. My mother said, what's the pocket money for? You've got a bursary, your fees have been paid. Don't they offer you food at the school, at the university? Yes, they do. Or they give you 3 meals? Yes. Didn't I sew you clothes? Because my mother couldn't afford to buy us clothes. She used to buy materials and sew, make clothes. Didn't I make you clothes? You have a suitcase full of clothes. So, Anna, what is it that I can do for you further? And I realized there's no money coming from home. So I thought, what am I going to do? So I had this idea that I was going to sell handbags. Why handbags? Because I knew the owner of a factory in Botswana who made lovely exotic handbags. So I got onto the train and went to Botswana during the holiday and went to find this man and pleaded with him that I needed consignment stock. Could he entrust me just with 10 handbags? Because he used to come to South Africa to deliver at Carlton Center, the handbags. So I said, when you come to Carlton Center, bring 10 extras. I need this money for an upkeep as a student. You know, he stared at me in the eye. And I think he decided he's going to take just this risk on me because I think I looked honest. And then indeed, started with the 10 bags. You won't believe it, by the end of the week, I'd sold all those 10 bags. And I called him, I said, I don't have stock anymore. I'm sitting on cash, the bags have been bought. And then he said, okay, I'll come month end, I'll bring 30 handbags. The rest is history. The business just so grew. In the end, I had agents selling for me. And by the time I'd completed my medical studies, I had my first formal business. I had a store employing people. And when I concluded my medical studies, I sold the business and opened a medical center. And those were my inroads into business, because then I started into healthcare, the healthcare sector, distributing medical products, and the rest is history. And then obviously our company was formed, we diversified, and that's where I am today.
That's such an interesting story, but it started with a dream, and it started with something that you had the passion to really do something to improve yourself irrespective of.
Yes, certainly.
Fantastic. So the last question that I want to ask you, because this is what everybody, all the students, everybody that comes to a university or to any educational center, everyone wants to be an entrepreneur. As it sounds the right thing to do. What is your advice to the many prospective young entrepreneurs, and specifically women out there, because we are now going for Women's Month as well? What is your advice to them to make things happen? What should they be listening to Dr. Anna, our leading entrepreneur in the African context? What are you saying to them and to us as a business school to think about?
Yes, I think you must be an entrepreneur for the right reasons. Some people think, oh, I want to become an entrepreneur. I want to own a Maserati. I want to own a Ferrari. I think that's the wrong reason. The Ferrari will come when it comes. The main thing is your vision. Have you got passion for this? You have to prepare yourself for the journey. The journey of an entrepreneur is not an easy one. Finally, yes, when you begin to enjoy the fruits of your success later, yes. But the journey is a difficult one. It's a painful one. It's one that goes with sacrifice and a lot of energy. You've got to be diligent. You've got to be resilient. You've got to believe in yourself and believe that you can do it and you can succeed. And there should be no barrier in your mind that stands there and inhibits your thoughts and your ambitions. There should be no barrier. I always say there's no ceiling in my life. I look at the clear sky and there's no ceiling. I see as far as I want to see and as far as I can see. So you need to prepare your mind for it. And that's where you start. And obviously you need to research the sector you like, because it's impossible to be in a million things. You can be in a number of things, but it's one at a time. But you have to research, find out more about that industry, do a lot of work, plan, prepare, consult. And that's the little hardship I had, because, for you to prepare and consult, you need money to be able to pay an accountant to do your business plan. You need a lawyer to see to your legal agreements. But you can talk your way around. I remember when we started our business, we couldn't even afford to do the books. But we went to an auditing firm, one of the big firms, and I approached the partner there and I said, listen, what is your contribution to society other than just what you do and collecting the fees? Here I am, I'm starting, I've nothing. But one day I will have something. I'll be one of your big clients and I'll be able to pay you big money one day. But I need you to help, because I'm really able to convince people. I prepare the story. And you won't believe it, they assisted to do the books, they assisted. I didn't have to pay then. And obviously when the business grew and we could afford to pay, then we were able to pay. Yeah. But you need to do some groundwork. Today, you have to register your company, register for VAT. I mean, all those things need to be done. So it's a whole journey that you must prepare yourself. You don't just land there, you've got to prepare. And be ready.
So what you say, it doesn't help you to want to be an entrepreneur, but you are not prepared to put in the energy and the background information and searching and finding your passion and making that happen. And as you said, the first thing when you get some money to buy a Maserati or a Mercedes-Benz or whatever the case might be, or a cab, a Toyota double cab.
You have to decide and that's going to work. If you're going to go into farming and agriculture, you better get rid of that sedan and buy a 4x4, because you've got to load things at the back. There's no sexiness to that. Right. I had a Mercedes, a big Mercedes when I started, because I was a successful doctor and I'd been in business. Guess what? When I went now into corporate South Africa, I had to sell that car and buy a little car, because, I couldn't afford the big car. Yes. So this is what I'm saying, you can't have it both ways. There are sacrifices to be made, but you must have the bigger picture in your mind that it doesn't matter for now. One day I will own that car. I will own an aeroplane one day, but you have to start with the little sacrifices that you have to make at the beginning.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Anna. I think our time is now also running out, but it's fantastic talking to you, because you've got such a lot of energy, despite all the other things that you are at the moment suffering from in terms of being a businesswoman, etc., etc. I just want to say thank you very much for your inspiration.
It was an utmost pleasure. And happy Women's Month to you as well.
Yes, and you keep well, and we will talk again. Thank you very much.
Pleasure. Thank you.